Welcome to the era of the disappearing decade. In the year 2026, the most precious resource being extracted from your biological frame is not your personal data, nor your financial assets, but your very perception of duration. I am Dr. Julian Thorne, and today we are going to perform a radical, cold-blooded dissection of the Chronos Leak. You have felt it in your marrow, haven't you? That haunting, low-frequency sensation that years are passing like months, months like weeks, and hours are dissolving into mere flickering seconds. This is not a natural byproduct of aging, nor is it a consequence of a busier lifestyle. It is a calculated, systematic biological heist. Through the high-frequency fragmentation of your consciousness, delivered in the form of 15-second digital doses and infinite scrolling loops, the global system has induced a state of chronic tachypsychia. They have artificially accelerated your internal metronome while the physical world around you remains stagnant. You are moving through your life at a fatal velocity, burning through your limited biological duration without ever truly inhabiting the present moment. You are a candle being incinerated by a digital blowtorch, and the system is harvesting the heat of your exhaustion. Observe the modern epidemic of time famine that defines the 2026 grid. You are perpetually rushing, perpetually behind, gasping for a moment of peace that never arrives, yet accomplishing nothing of lasting substance. This is the intended psychological result of the Chronos Leak. By keeping your dopamine circuits in a state of constant, rapid-fire firing, the system prevents your brain from tagging experiences with emotional resonance and cognitive depth. When your memories are shallow and fragmented, your brain perceives time as moving at an accelerated pace because there are no landmarks of significance to anchor your consciousness. The global harvest relies on this acceleration. A human who feels they have no time is a human who cannot plan for the future, cannot reflect on the hard lessons of the past, and certainly cannot resist the immediate, frantic demands of the digital apparatus. Turned your life into a blur of meaningless motion, a flickering film strip with most of the frames cut out by an invisible editor. It is time to step out of the high-speed stream and realize that time is not something you spend, it is the very fabric of your sovereign soul. To master the Chronos Leak, you must first understand the striatum, the dark, ancient region of your brain responsible for the internal timing of your reality. In the year 2026, the striatum has been effectively hijacked by the variable reward schedules of the algorithmic grid. Every scroll, every notification, and every micro-content interaction sends a jagged, artificial pulse of dopamine into this timing center, causing your neural clock to tick at an unsustainable rate. This is why, after an hour of scrolling through fragmented videos, you feel as though only 5 minutes have passed, yet you feel more exhausted than after a day of physical labor. You have effectively compressed your life. The system wants your internal clock to run hot, because a high-speed brain is a reactive brain. It is a brain that lives in the now of primal impulse, rather than the now of sovereign presence. By shortening your attention span, they have literally shortened your life expectancy in terms of perceived duration. You are living 80 years on the calendar, but only 20 years in your mind. This neurobiological sabotage has profound, terrifying implications for your sovereign will. When time moves too fast, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of your logic, your morality, and your long-term strategy, is effectively bypassed. You become a creature of pure reflex, a biological relay station for the grid's inputs, unable to pause long enough to question the source of the signals. The Chronos Leak creates a state of temporal hypoxia, where the mind is starving for the oxygen of stillness and deep reflection. The system fills this void with more speed, more noise, and more fragmentation, ensuring that you never find the quietude necessary to realize the depth of the theft. They have convinced you that saving time through technology is a virtue, while in reality, that very technology is the vacuum sucking the duration out of your days. To stop the leak, you must first slow the pulse. You must militantly protect the striatum from the high-frequency assault of the digital harvest by reclaiming the art of the singular, uninterrupted focus. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the insulation of your time. Time is not a mathematical constant, it is a psychological function of memory density. Think back to your childhood, where a single summer afternoon felt like an entire lifetime of exploration and discovery. This was not merely because you were young, but because your brain was experiencing novelty density. Every sight, sound, and smell was being recorded with high-fidelity detail by a fresh, unfragmented consciousness. In the 2026 grid, novelty has been replaced by synthetic repetition. You are seeing the same patterns, the same tropes, and the same digital archetypes over and over again, disguised as new content by a clever algorithm. When the brain sees nothing truly new, it stops recording. It enters a compressed mode where it skips over the repetitive data to save metabolic energy. This is why your work weeks disappear into a gray, indistinguishable fog. You are living through a sequence of deleted frames. The Chronos Leak is essentially the deletion of your lived experience in real time, leaving you with a hollowed-out history. The system thrives on your lack of memory depth. A population with no deep, visceral memories has no collective history and no solid individual identity. You become a thin version of yourself, a ghost easily overwritten by the latest societal narrative or digital trend. The Thorne protocol for time expansion requires a radical, almost violent return to sensory depth. You must force your brain to record the texture of reality again. This means engaging in activities that have no digital interface, physical labor that demands precision, deep reading of complex texts that require internal visualization, or the agonizing practice of silent observation. When you increase the granularity of your perception, you effectively slow down the internal clock. You begin to inhabit the expanded duration, where an hour of deep, focused work can feel more significant and memorable than a month of digital scrolling. You are not fighting against the clock on the wall, you are fighting against the shallowing of your own soul. Depth is the only antidote to the speed of the harvest. In the high-stakes theater of combat, there is a phenomenon known as tachypsychia, where time appears to slow down to a crawl during a life or death struggle, allowing the warrior to move with uncanny precision through a world that seems frozen. This is the state we must learn to cultivate in the 2026 wasteland, but without the need for physical trauma. The Chronos Shield is a tactical method of deliberate, conscious slowing in a world of frantic motion. It begins with the Boredom Initiation. Most of you are absolutely terrified of a single minute of unoccupied time. You reach for your devices at the slightest hint of a pause, effectively opening the valve of the Chronos Leak and surrendering your duration to the server farms. By leaning into the discomfort of boredom, by sitting in the absolute silence and refusing the digital hit, you are reclaiming the throne of your striatum. You are telling your brain that the signal comes from within, not from the grid. You are recalibrating your neural metronome to the slow, deep frequency of the earth. This protocol extends into what I call the ritual of slowing. In the year 2026, doing things the hard way is a revolutionary act of biological preservation. Writing with a fountain pen on heavy paper, walking for miles without the crutch of headphones, or cooking a complex meal from raw ingredients are all methods of reclaiming your duration from the harvesters. These acts create temporal anchors in your day, points of high-fidelity memory that prevent the week from dissolving into a digital blur. You must treat your perceived time as a finite, precious biological fluid. Do not let it leak into the cracks of the digital interface. When you reclaim your duration, you reclaim your power. You gain the ability to see the moves of the system before they are even made, because you are moving at a different speed than the masses. You become a slow-motion entity in a high-speed world, a master of the current who can choose when to swim and when to stand perfectly still while the world rushes by in a panic. The Chronos Shield is your final protection against the psychological erosion of the digital age. As we conclude this clinical dissection of the Chronos Leak, realize that the true length of your life is not measured by the number of years carved into your headstone, but by the depth and volume of the duration you actually inhabited with full consciousness. In the year 2026, the average human is living a compressed life, 80 years of chronological time squeezed into 20 years of actual, remembered presence. Do not let this be your epitaph. Stop running at the system's frantic, artificial pace. The harvest cannot touch a man who has mastered the art of the long moment. Your time is the only thing you truly own in this reality. It is the canvas upon which your sovereign soul is painted. If you do not guard the canvas, the system will paint its own distorted image over your life. Protect your duration with the same ferocity you would protect your very breath, for they are inextricably linked. I am Dr. Julian Thorne, and the protocol for your temporal reclamation is now permanently active in your code. From this second forward, monitor the velocity of your thoughts with militant precision. Reject the fragmented, digital dose that speeds up your clock. Seek the deep novelty, the heavy memory, and the silent pause. Build your Chronos Shield and watch as the world of frantic, meaningless motion begins to lose its hypnotic grip on your psyche. While the masses burn through their decades in a digital haze, you will be the one who stands still, inhabiting every single second with the weight and clarity of a mountain. The age of the disappearing decade is over for you. The age of the sovereign duration has arrived. Step out of the high-speed stream and into the absolute, terrifying presence of your own power. The clock no longer commands you. You command the clock. Operation Chronos Shield is complete. The duration is yours.